Hello. I'm reacting to what if Anakin faked his death on Mustafa. This would be nice. I think this can go two ways, I think. Obi-Wan actually believing that he did kill Skywalker. And then, well, in the original movies, again, he did kill Skywalker. He left him for dead, so yeah. But this time, let's see what happens if he faked his death, and what would Palpatine's reaction be if he found out he was dead? Not dead, but he faked his death, but how would Palpatine react to his fake dead body? Skywalker's fake dead body. When he's faking his death. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I have Fantasy Folklore's channel in the description, so you can check out the original video on their channel. And don't forget to check out my reaction playlist to see more of my reactions too. Now let's check out what if Skywalker faked his death on Mustafa.
Anakin lost everything when he was defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafa, and the Emperor was more than disappointed when he arrived on the planet to see Anakin a mere shadow of what he once was and could have been. But what if Anakin faked his death on Mustafa? Let's start the story mid-fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan yells at Anakin that the Chancellor is evil and has turned him against everyone who cares about him, including his wife, Padme, whom he just choked unconscious. Anakin spews back, telling Kenobi that the Jedi are evil, and he's turned Padme against him. But Kenobi shakes his head, telling Anakin that this is his fault, and now he's lost Padme because of his actions. But it's not too late to come back to the light and repent for everything he's done. Anakin's mind flickers, but he tells Obi-Wan he has no other choice, that Padme will die if he doesn't unlock the power to save her. But Kenobi rebuts, telling Anakin that it will all be for naught, as he will lose her anyways if he remains on the dark path. Anakin realizes Kenobi is right, judging from his interaction with Padme before. If he continued down this path, he might save her, but she will never love him again. Anakin weighs up his options in his mind. He knows everything he's done is wrong, his brain screaming at him to stop, but his heart has taken over. But if he continues down this path, his heart will lose. Kenobi tells Anakin that if they work together, they can save Padme, and he promises that she will not die, and they can save her. Anakin drops his hands down by his side, as he knows Kenobi is right. He decides to give up the darkness, return to the light, and bet on the fact that they can use their power to save her. He drops to his knees, apologizes to Kenobi, but his master reassures Anakin that there is hope for him yet, that he's sure of it. Anakin stands, and in his mind, knows the Emperor will not allow him and his family to leave and live freely, and he must cover his tracks. He walks over to the lava bed and takes off his cloak, imbuing it with his presence in the Force. He throws it in the lava and watches it burn, and knows when the Emperor arrives, he will think Anakin perished in the lava. He and Kenobi leave, take Padme with them, and head to Polis Massa to meet with Bail Organa and Yoda. The Grand Master gets ready to fight when he sees Anakin, but Kenobi tells him he's returned to them and come to help. But Yoda isn't fully convinced and watches Anakin carefully. They take Padme to the medical facility, where she begins labor with Anakin by her side, apologizing for everything he's done, and reassures her that their family will be together. But Anakin's extremely anxious, scared that Padme will not survive the pregnancy, but she gave birth successfully, as Luke and Leia join the Skywalker family. This makes Anakin feel even more ashamed. Padme was never going to die, and his dreams have deceived him. Or maybe Palpatine was the one deceiving him. They convene in the meeting room, as Organa made contact with Ahsoka and Rex, who joined them at the station. They discuss what to do next, and agree that Palpatine is too safeguarded after his duel with Yoda, that there will be no reaching him. They will have to be patient, and wait for the moment in due time. But Obi-Wan discusses that now they have Anakin. Yes, he momentarily lapsed to the dark side and committed heinous crimes, but he will pay for those, and will spend his time helping them to redeem himself. He still is the chosen one, and has the potential power in the Force to far exceed anyone who's ever lived, and that they'll need his help if they're to defeat the Emperor. Yoda reluctantly agrees, as he knows he himself failed, and he'll be forced to work with Anakin, the man who destroyed his order. Across the galaxy on Mustafa, Palpatine's ship lands, and he feels something is wrong in the Force. He ventures down to the lava bank, where he senses Vader's presence is the strongest, but finds nothing there, and senses Vader in the lava himself, and Palpatine realizes what must have happened. Vader must have been defeated and killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi. He curses as anger takes over him. His prized position and pupil, Vader, was gone, the only man who could surpass him. His anger was immeasurable, and he'll have to change his plans. Meanwhile, Anakin visits Padme and apologizes for everything he did to her. She was so hurt seeing Anakin in the state he was, and couldn't be more happy seeing him alongside their 2 children together, and decides to forgive him. Anakin suggests running away, but Padme says they can't, that he has a duty to the galaxy to right his wrongs and stop Palpatine, although Padme wouldn't return to the Senate because they knew Palpatine would take her. Everyone convenes in the meeting chamber to discuss the situation further, deciding to take the loss for now, but begin forming an active rebellion against the Empire. This will involve many facets, setting up their base on Polis Massa, and each of them will be tasked with a different operation. Yoda, Anakin, and Obi-Wan will be tasked with finding any remaining surviving Jedi and bring them to their cause. Ahsoka and Rex will be tasked with bringing clones to their side, and a facility will be set up on Massa to remove any inhibitor chips. And arguably Bail Organa and Mon Mothma will have the most important task of all. They will acquire financial aid for the rebellion. They have their plan and begin setting it back in motion. The Purge had left the Jedi Order in disarray, but they were able to find some survivors of the Purge: Caloran Beck, Grogu, Caleb Doom, Cal Kestis, Luminara Unduli, Trilla Sunduri, Sierra Junda, Eno Cordova, Jocasta Nu, and Oppa Rancisis. Ahsoka and Rex were successful with their quest. Aided by the Bad Batch, they successfully captured thousands of clones and brought them back to remove their inhibitor chips, and further employed them to help the rebel cause. Organa and Mothma are the political powers of the rebellion, slowly turning senators to their side, procuring money for their cause from wealthy citizens who dislike the Empire, and their funds continue to pour in. They use the funds to build the infrastructure of the rebellion, buying ships, weapons, and artillery to build their fleet, as well as stolen ships from the remnant separatists, Republic, or Empire itself. Many citizens of the galaxy are loyal to the rebellion and join their cause, motivated by their distaste for the Empire. Bands of rebels have begun forming pockets around the galaxy, and Organa and Obi-Wan are in negotiations to unite them all in one fight against the Empire. Palpatine was troubled by the rebellion, as they were inhibiting the growth of his empire in its early years. He still had the majority of the clone army and had begun the Stormtrooper project, but the hope that the rebellion gave the people was what he needed to destroy. He knew there were senators inside the Imperial Senate that were sympathizers with the rebellion, but knew it would be difficult to tease them out. He wished he could disband the Senate, something that was a plan of his, but knew he needed them for now to maintain control. He wishes that he had Vader by his side, to be his ruthless enforcer, and would simply send him to deal with the rebellion. The rebellion continues to grow for 5 years after the Clone War. It's stronger in this timeline, as the people have more hope of the rebellion being successful, especially since it's backed by the remnant of the Jedi Order. The key rebel factions have united with the formation of a rebel council, including Mothma, Organa, Yoda, Kenobi, Admiral Akbar, and Commander Jyn Sato. The rebels are strong, with tens of thousands of clones and the financial backing of some of the galaxy's most influential beings. After 5 years of building up their forces, the council decides it's time to officially declare war against the Empire and carry out their initiating plan. Their influence is strong enough to oppose the Empire, and they publicly have senators that have aligned with their cause to leave the Senate and declare independence from the Empire. Over 100 senators did this, which sent shockwaves rippling through the Empire. The senators and worlds who had seceded had clones stationed with sections of the rebel forces to protect them if the Empire attacked. The Rebel Council releases a message on the HoloNet, declaring war against the Empire and the Emperor himself. This angered Palpatine, who decided to devote all of his forces towards crushing the rebellion, and he was surprised at how far they had come. He sends all of his Inquisitors against the Jedi, giving them one command: kill. He had to loosen his grip on some worlds to divert his forces, but he was confident he would be successful in regaining control when the war is over. Meanwhile, during these 5 years, Anakin had remained hidden in order to not expose him to the Emperor. He's been spending his time with his family, helping the twins grow up, as well as training the Jedi Padawans who survived the Purge. Yoda and Obi-Wan made sure not to leak Anakin carrying out Order 66, as they knew the Jedi would turn against him. But during this time, Anakin has been training, and his power has increased considerably, and is determined to get revenge against the Emperor for almost taking his family from him and manipulating him his entire life. Anakin had returned to the light, but no longer thinks like a Jedi. He uses his emotions to give him power, and can stray into the dark side if necessary, tapping into the anger and hate that he's experienced in the past to increase his power. All the Jedi, including Yoda and Obi-Wan, have noticed Anakin's increase in strength in the Force, and Kenobi knew he was right to bring him back, to use him as their secret weapon against the Emperor. And they'll use the Emperor not knowing he's alive to their advantage. Complete war had broken out, as numerous battles take place across the galaxy, and the Rebel Council orchestrates a plan. Kenobi takes his fleet to attack the Emperor, whose fleet is located outside Onderon. Palpatine gets reports of Kenobi and his fleet coming towards him directly, and the Emperor begins to get excited. He wonders whether Kenobi had become stronger in recent years, and whether or not he's the Jedi's prized possession. This must be the Jedi's only plan, and wonders whether Yoda has deteriorated since their last duel. A battle breaks out as their forces collide, and Kenobi lures Palpatine in, who can taste Kenobi's defeat and knows if he kills him, will deal a destructive blow to the rebellion. He breaks onto his ship, kills the clones in his way, and stands opposite Kenobi. He gives the Jedi Master credit that he had the courage to face him, but tells Obi-Wan he will ensure his death is slow and painful. He advances, but feels something is wrong in the Force. He senses a presence he hasn't felt in years, as Anakin comes out from behind him and slashes towards Palpatine. The Sith Lord dodges at the last second, and now stands between the two. He can't help but hide the look of fear on his face, as he can sense Anakin's power in the Force. Kenobi tells Palpatine not to worry, that he'll ensure his death is quick and painless. Palpatine ignites a second blade, and parries the Jedi's attacks. Anakin's strength is evident, and he needs to be careful. Palpatine determines he cannot win this fight, as Anakin charges at him ruthlessly, whilst Kenobi defends and manipulates the battle from the outskirts. Anakin lashes at him with an aggressive strike, and Palpatine knows this is his opportunity. He ducks under it, but now has his back towards the exit. He uses the dark side of the Force to cast a smoke cover, but knows this wouldn't be useful in itself, and combines this with his ability to conceal his presence in the Force. Anakin and Obi-Wan rush through the smoke, but find Palpatine had already escaped. Anakin and Obi-Wan curse at the situation, knowing their moment of surprise was over. The Jedi had underestimated Palpatine, and were forced to reconvene with the rest of the Rebel Council and report their failure. Anakin stands there angry with himself that they lost their golden opportunity, but his resolve has grown stronger. Palpatine makes it back to his ship, panicked, and realizes Anakin's power has grown, and his worst fears have been realized. The boy has the power to defeat and surpass him. He knows he only has one hope left. Palpatine has been attempting to clone a perfect body of his own, with no Force sensitivity, to serve as a vassal to transfer his essence into when his current body got too weak. He had begun this project before he became Emperor, as he knew his end goal was to rule the galaxy for eternity and become the immortal Emperor. But he would have to change the avenue of his research, and instead of growing empty vessels, he would have to grow clones of himself. He originally didn't want to do this, for fear of the clones betraying him and becoming more powerful, but now he had no choice. He discusses this with the lead scientists in the depths of Mount Tantus's hidden laboratories, and they begin doing this for him. They grow clones with rapid age development, and insert his DNA and genetic code into his current vassals, growing in the Bacta tanks. He watches one by one as they come alive, but his clones were far from perfect. Many of them were mentally insane and unable to be controlled. The degree of Force sensitivity varied, with all of them being at least 30% weaker, but their overall attunity to the Force was different. The process wasn't perfect, and he wasn't able to make a direct copy, but that's not what he needed. This process took months, whilst Anakin, Obi-Wan and Yoda utilized the Rebels' power.
This has become like what? The Clone Wars? Now it is the Palpatine Wars, really? Or the Sidious Wars. Great.
And influence in order to search for Palpatine, as with their combined strength, they could surely defeat him. But for an entire year, the Emperor eludes them, and remains on Coruscant where the rebels will not attack, and he's too well guarded. But little did they know, Palpatine was growing a small army of himself and having them train each other.
Literally. Yeah, literally. I have an army myself. Literally have my own personal army of me.
War between the Rebel Alliance and Empire was raging, and neither side was giving up much ground. The time would come when the Jedi finally received word of Palpatine's movements from their spies and bring their fleet to his location, but little did they know he wanted them to do this. They come out of hyperspace to see Palpatine's fleet and ship in the distance as they engage his forces in battle. At the battle, the Jedi board a shuttle and dodge the heavy blaster fire from the Star Destroyers and dock onto the Emperor's command ship. They make their way to the throne room and stand opposite the Emperor. He taunts them, telling them their arrogance will be their undoing as his deformed clones enter the room, all of whom are Force sensitive and circle the Jedi. The Jedi stand there in shock at the abominations in front of them, but they prepare for battle and ignite their lightsabers. Anakin charges at the Emperor, and the two face off. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Yoda attack the clones. Kenobi counts at least 40 of them, and they rush in on either side. They easily dispatch the weaker ones, with only 2,000 to 4,000 midichlorian counts, but their onslaught is too much, and there are too many of them. Yoda is caught midair with a lightsaber, and falls to the floor weakened, as the clone Palpatines pounce on him, and end the Grand Master's life. Kenobi is left alone, as a clone cuts off his left arm, and is hit by a bout of Force lightning, sending him flying across the room unconscious. Palpatine pushes Anakin back with the Force, as the Chosen One looks around to see himself surrounded. Palpatine taunts him, telling Anakin that if it was a one-on-one, he would have defeated him. In Anakin's mind, he thinks of his family, and the love he feels for them. He told himself he would never feel as weak as he did the night he attacked Padme all those years ago, and uses the love inside of him to fuel his strength as he lets it out in a burst of rage, fueled with his passion to push the clones of Palpatine to the walls of the room as they begin to scream out in pain, as Anakin follows up with a burst of Force energy that burns their skin and turns them to ashes. The real and last standing Palpatine watches in horror at the power of the Chosen One. Anakin falls back to the ground and looks up to Palpatine, who tells Anakin he's an abomination in the Force. Their final fight commenced, Palpatine using every technique, every trick he knew in the Force in order to defeat Anakin, but the Chosen One's power was far superior, and he cut the Emperor down, enacting his revenge. He rushed over to Kenobi, who's regained consciousness, and carries him out of there to safety. The Emperor's defeat is broadcasted around the galaxy, and the rebels take over Coruscant and the Senate, clearing their victory. The remnant Imperial forces will remain, but with no leader and conflict within the Imperial Council, their defeat is assured. The 35 remaining Jedi and Anakin take over the Jedi Temple again and stand in the council chambers, content with their victory. They decide on where to move on from here, and Oppo Rancista speaks up, telling them all that with Yoda's death, there is only one person who can take over as Grand Master, and that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everyone agrees, and Kenobi accepts this gracefully. They decide to assist the rebels in their takeover of the Senate, and aid in the transition between the Empire to the Republic, and after that, they will begin restoring the Jedi Order. Anakin and Obi-Wan talk privately, Obi-Wan telling Anakin that he's extremely proud of him, and has now righted his wrongs that he committed years ago, and offers for him to stand by his side in the restoration of the Jedi Order, become his Vice Grand Master, and together they can grow the Jedi Order into what it should be, guardians of peace instead of political puppets. Anakin shakes his hand, and together the brothers, Obi-Wan and Anakin, will lead the Jedi Order and galaxy into a new era of peace and prosperity. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out what if Thanos' snap affected the Star Wars galaxy, and what if Obi-Wan never went to Mustafa. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.
Yep. Only killed a couple. That's how you fix it there. Just tossing a little bit in lava. Lava. Nice. Alright, bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Again, I'll have their channel in the description, so check it out for yourself. And don't forget to check out my reaction playlist too, to see more of my reactions I've done over the year. Bye for now. I'll see you next time. Bye.